All right, welcome to Sister Circle, an attitude of excellence, the space where no woman stands alone. We rise, we rest, and we redefine what it means to walk in excellence. I'm Deshauna, joined by my circle of sisters, Tiffany, Robin, Brittany, and Terry. If you tuned in last time, we talked about friendship that fills, not drains. Today, we're diving into something that touches so many of us: burnout. We live in a culture that tells women we can and should have it all. But what does excellence look like when the pursuit of having it all starts to cost us our health, our peace, or our joy? This episode is called Excellence Without Burnout: Redefining What It Means to Have It All. And we're going to be real about how to balance, release, and redefine. So, ladies, when you hear the phrase having it all, what comes to mind? Do you think it's real or a trap?
For
Yeah.
me, when I hear having it all, I find that as a personal standard for myself. I've learned to that what may be all for myself might not be what all is to others. Prioritize what's important to me, my family, my health, and my overall happiness. So I think having it all is probably the unfortunate umbrella that society and the world has put this umbrella over us, saying that if you don't have it all, or this is what having it all looks like, so many people get caught up in using that as how to judge and characterize. Okay, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have it all. Well, in fact, I wish we all would just look at it and be a self standard that we set for ourselves, because my all may not be what Tiffany's all is or Robin's all is.
Yep. I agree. I think for me, I'll never quote unquote have it all when it comes to society standards, but my version of having it all is um really being in a good space within myself, then also being in a good space with the people around me. My relationships are happy. I've got enough finances and wealth to be comfortable, pay my bills. I'm not struggling. That's my version of having it all. But I also like to just call it blessed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's definitely real. I think my driver for everything that I do starts with family when it comes to me. The other thing that's most important for me is just making sure I show up as my authentic self and I'm comfortable being my authentic self with everything. Health, wealth, love, happiness, family, that is my key driver. And for wealth, it's as Brittany was speaking. For me, wealth can be being comfortable. I just want to make sure that, I'm able to sustain and be comfortable in how I choose to live. And yeah, I definitely think it's real.
Oh, that's good, but I definitely believe it was a trap. But initially I felt it was a trap, but after realizing how much control I had over my life,
Mhm.
um, I think it could be real. And I feel that it's just overall about creating the life that I enjoy in all aspects. That's what having it all is for me.
And I agree with Tiffany. I call it a setup for burnout, because I think no one can juggle everything perfectly. And sometimes we pretend like we can. And maybe the problem isn't the dream, but the definition of excellence doesn't mean exhaustion.
Right.
Um, so, how do you personally know when you are sliding into burnout? Like, what are the signs in your body, your emotions, or your spirit?
Immediately irritability for me. Neglect, isolation, all of those things definitely signal that I'm getting very burnt out. I'm not wanting to do any of the things that I used to, or I'm just, of course, always tired. The smallest thing can just annoy me, and it has no business being that way, but it could just be a pin dropping on the floor. Like, it's not even that serious. So, those are the top things for me.
Yeah, heavy on the irritability. I feel like when I'm like that's the first I guess indicator that I'm experiencing some type of burnout. Like I'm very irritable. but also I feel the need in those moments to kind of like self isolate. Like if I feel like all I want to do is sit on my couch and be by myself and watch TV, I need my phone on do not disturb. I don't want to be bothered with anybody. That's the indicator for me. Like it's something going on externally that's
Mhm.
affecting me internally. And so I need to refresh, maybe take some time, just, I don't know, be in a quiet space, like get myself together because I'm clearly experiencing something that's got me a little frazzled, frustrated.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. I agree with both ladies. I feel like for me, unable to come to a resolve, like feeling, how can I say, like I can't solve my problems at the time. I feel like I'm fully just checked out. I don't have any answers to anything. Isolation is definitely a big driver for me. And the one big thing for me also is that I feel overly emotional. I just feel like because I'm just so tied into my personal everything that I just feel overly emotional and I can't fix it. So yeah, that's for me, unfortunately.
Yeah. I agree with all ladies as well. For me, looking back, being mean, being quick to respond, short tempered, and that would be to the smallest things, any and everyone, to the point where that person could just look back and say, "Well, what was that for? Why was that?" Because everything mounts up, and that's just so quick. And I feel tired. I'm lazy. Don't want to do
Mhm.
much. And I think if I could just throw in a pin when we talk about women taking ourselves and burnout being sometimes just part of being women, being mothers, being working moms, that's just part of it. But I would add from my personal experience is that burnouts should be far and few in between. It shouldn't be something constantly, weekly, monthly. And I think that would also be a sign to say, you know what? Let me just go to the doctor. Let me share this with someone to make sure, what I am feeling is just, burnt out. I need to rest. Because not all things, that added on to other things that a doctor may find can equate to something bigger and greater. So I would definitely leave with that. We need to stop just umbrelling everything under burnout and just taking it for what it is, knowing that these are my symptoms, these are the things that occur, but this too will
Mhm.
pass. We need to do better on taking care of selves so that those burnouts just don't happen as often as they do.
Oh, and Terry, we're gonna have an episode on excellence and self-care. But um, but you all got me to thinking as many of you mentioned needing to isolate as a sign of burnout. And it just made me think of, is it that we need to isolate in order to recover? Or is it that we can't be present without feeling like we have to be? Like
Mm,
sometimes
Now that's
as
good.
women and maybe too as black women, we feel like our presence requires us to be or do, and we can't just
right.
be present and not do all of that. So then we isolate so that we
Mhm.
can just be. But I think sometimes we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to get used to stepping into spaces and not feeling like because we're present, we have to be doing something or be fulfilling something or be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so
Not feeling like we always have to show up as our very best selves. Like
Yes.
it's okay to not be
Yes.
okay, you know?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's okay to just be
Or
present
show
and
up
not
and
have
right. That
Mhm.
without being, somebody was sorry, you okay? Because you're not. No, today I just want to sit back and be present and enjoy. I don't want to, and it ain't even a matter of saying I don't want to give 100%. This is just what my 100% looks like
Today.
Mm-hmm.
today.
Yeah.
Today I'm still, nothing else is going on. I'm trying to prevent myself from being burnt out. So let me still show up. But you're right, when everyone is used to seeing you at
Right.
150, but you show up at 100, girl, what's wrong
Right.
with you? What's
Yeah.
going on, da 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 da. And that's not always the case. And I think if I think back to I would look back and say having a sister circle or being involved with the right circles, those people will learn to recognize you for who you
Mm-hmm.
are and know and accept that she's here, she's present. It's not always something else going on. And I
Mhm.
think that's what defines, good circles and good friendships when you're surrounded by people who can recognize
Mhm.
that and don't feel like you're cheating them because you're not. up here
Yeah.
today.
Mhm.
And I think we
So
think of
Love
like
to
I
hear
think
that.
of I visualize it as like this whole trend around soft life and passenger princess. Like you sometimes you can step into spaces and just be the passenger princess in that space. And I think sometimes we
mhm,
don't feel like we have the freedom to do that, or someone
mhm.
else has to be taking control for us to be able to do that. And sometimes that's not it. Sometimes we just need to step into the space and be the passenger princess because that's what we need to do to make sure we're consistently being restored.
Yeah, it's almost like you're treating it like a
Yeah.
task. Like it's not, it doesn't have to be something else. You check off of your list
Right.
just to say you did something.
Yeah. So, and I think in all, we're saying burnout is not a weakness, it's a signal that something is unsustainable, that we have to do something different. So if excellence isn't about doing everything, what is it about? How do we redefine excellence so it includes rest, peace, and sustainability?
Ooh, that is a struggle. I I definitely have had my share of burnout over so much time, but learning to rest is a hard thing. And so I've had to learn to prioritize more of me doing like not all the things and doing less things and still getting those things done, but still having time, to still enjoy life. Um, Even being single with no kids, it just still feels like I should have all this time in the world, but that's not the case. Like I still get tired.
Yeah.
I still get burnout and just try not to limit myself and just trying to do all of the things. So rest, no matter what that looks like,
Hmm.
whether that's a drive, going out to eat, meeting up with friends, and sometimes it is self-isolation. Um, but not using it as like I have to do it, but like I get to do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that note. Looking at it from a different perspective, being able to just say, I get to do it. I like that. That's absolutely good. And I know for me, um, I always struggle with being able to say no to people as a form of disappointment. But I'm learning that being a yes girl wasn't always the way either because, I couldn't meet the demand of all my yeses. So with that, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So with that, being able to say no and being okay with it, because I'm definitely learned that I can see now that saying no sometimes is just protecting myself and my capacity. And when I can show up and be my authentic self and fully give you me, that means more to me than just saying yes to everything and then just giving you a part of what I can deliver.
Yep. Absolutely. I think for me, sustainability looks like prioritizing my self care, and whatever self-care entails for me, because sometimes like I'm at the nail shop every 2 weeks, and me and my nail tech, for instance, we have like such a good relationship. We're almost friends. So those moments, like I go in there with her, I'm getting my nails and toes done, we're laughing, we're talking. Sometimes she pulls out the drinks, sometimes she pulls out the hookah, but it really is time for me to just like unwind. My kids, like I'm not worried about none of that. I'm just taking this time for me right now. This hour and a half, whatever it is for me right now. Um, and also I think aside from like self-care and things like that, where I'm at in like my journey as a Christian and my church life, right? Like I'm literally looking forward to things like church on Sundays or things like Bible study, whether that be with my e-group or my boyfriend. Like I got a boyfriend now, y'all. But we have Bible study and we like listen to different look at Terry. We listen to different sermons and we talk about the sermons, and following
Hmm.
those discussions, I feel so much lighter like afterwards. And I think it's just all things that just help me come to these spaces of release from where before I probably felt like really pent up, or spending time with friends, just whatever it is for me that gives me that sense of release, and it's non-stressful things like that just makes it all the more sustainable for me, things I need in my life.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think
Piggybacking, yeah, off of that, Brittany. For me, it's I've learned to pray about those things that I
Mhm.
want, asking God for that guidance. I think the bigger thing about it is, speaking of church, one of our church decree is like, when we're going to do something, do it in excellence. Okay. So you hear the word excellence and you think, just the best. And I think what it means for me sometimes, if I'm going to do something and show up, you know, at a certain degree, do it the best that I can. Don't give them half of me or 75% when I know I can give 100. And so, Piggy, what we talked about the last time, sometimes just showing up is enough, but some things require us to be excellence because you've got other things that will, piggyback off of it or need that part of me. So like I think about church when I am designated part of a ministry and I'm there to volunteer to show up. I want to show up and know what small decree could reach somebody in whatever ministry and call them closer to God. So for me, it's always about just asking God to lead me, pray about those things that he deems important. What does he have for me and let it know that it's for me. And then just leaving it that. And I found that it just allows for life day by day just to be a little easier, just to know that my steps are ordered.
I love that. So I would say what I'm hearing from you ladies, you guys are teaching me some things. What I'm hearing is I know we talk about this in terms of burnout. And when I think of burnout, I think of like once you get to a point where there's nothing there and it's kind of like when you're running on bald tires, like the tires have worn and you just kept driving and kept driving and kept driving and now the tires are bald, and at some point you might
Hmm.
spin out if it's raining and you're driving on bald tires when you should have been checking on those tires. And so we should be checking on ourselves. And before we get to a point where our tires are bald, we need to change our tires. We don't need to get to a point of burnout because in order to perform in excellence, as Terry is speaking to, you have to continue that maintenance because you can't keep putting your car on the road and your tires are bald. But you got to be checking in on those
Mhm.
tires to make sure that you're changing them when they get to the point they need to
Hmm.
be changed. So sometimes I think we function in burnout when we really should be functioning in maintenance. And excellence is about alignment, not overload. So we're not supposed to run ourselves to the ground, just like we're not supposed to run these tires to the ground. We're supposed to refresh them along the way so we don't get to the point of the burnout.
Y'all better be speaking a word today.
So, speaking of words, Matthew 11:28 through 30 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." What does it look like to live this scripture out in your everyday life?
Um, I think for me right now, the I guess the top of the mind thing for me is like trusting God in the area of my career. Um, and I say that because like I recently made a career change, so I made a shift from all things that I'm used to into something completely different, and it's been very stressful. Um, and it's been an adjustment, but I'm learning to trust God where I am, and know that things will work out. Like whether this be my space of longevity or whether this is just a season for me to pass through and pick up what I need to pick up along the way. I am truly learning to just be grateful for where I am in the season and understand that the reality is God has never failed me, but I've probably not been in every situation or scenario that I wanted to be. I probably didn't get everything that I wanted in life, but the one thing that has held true is that God has never failed me. I've never, you know, gone without, in a sense. Like he's never left me high and dry. So even in this season, although it may be stressful and it sometimes feels like a lot to handle, I know the same will hold true here. Like everything will be fine.
For me, it's giving myself permission to rest. A lot of times I'm on go, 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 and I just don't know how to just sit down and rest. And, like Robin was saying earlier, I too struggle with saying no. Like, it's really hard because you want to be able to do things and show up for people, show up for yourself, but you can't do that and burn out. And a friend of mine told me trusting God with the little things because he doesn't require me to hustle. Like, and that's where that trap of having it all comes in, is feeling like you have to do the hustle and bustle all the time. But you don't. God doesn't require that. And that's the focus. So allowing myself to rest and just trusting God with all the things, even the things that I feel are small and not worthy of going to him for or bothering him about. um, but the thing is, God is there for me in all areas and in all things.
I love that. I love that, Tiff. Both with what you and Brittany both said are just hit home for me. I almost feel like there's really nothing to say. The only difference for me that I would add to that, and not to change, but just to add, is that I had to learn to come to God with my everything. Um, a lot of times we want to be perfect, and it's just like I think for me, and I've heard from so many women as well say that I can only come to him when things are right, or only if things are detrimental, or so forth and so on. You can come to God about everything. He wants your everything, just everything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But also, I come to God not only now, I notice that I don't only come to God now for what I need from him, but what is it that you need from me? How can I be you here on earth? Like, how can I walk your steps that you need me to do here on earth? So I think that my trajectory of how I look at it all is also changing as I'm growing in my faith.
So many things have just come to my mind. Like everything someone said, like I think the last thing I'm up here, y'all saw me rocking. I'm singing lyrics to just one song, just I forget, I think it's Kurt Franklin. He wants it all. Serving, he wants it all from us. I think having to learn, like you ladies said, wanting to come to him in a time of need, in a time of desperation, when a time you feel like you've done all you can do. Um, he should be the first that we go to. We say we should wake up in prayer, the last at night, go to him in prayer. I think once our individual relationships with him, learning how to talk to him, learning that talking to him doesn't have to always be on your knees with heads bowed, oh Heavenly Father. It's just those tap into the day, oh God, now I just talking to him like we're talking to each other. That's
Hmm.
for me that I had to learn. And that's through all out the day. Telling him, Lord, you did that. And I know you didn't have to. Thank you. So just being easier to have that dialect, like you said. He wants it all from us, the good, the bad, the ugly, but he also deserves our praise. I praise him in advance. I praise him for the things that he's done and that he's going to do. And once you develop that relationship, it makes it so much easier to go to him for what we think is the littlest thing. And for him, it's just that's what he wants. So if that's just my cry out to anyone, to just to know that just God just wants it all. And it's so simple. It's not hard than what you may think it is. It's just like, when you go to church, just reciting a couple words. It's, I realize who God is and I want him in my life.
That's good. I will tell you one thing that I was just looking at that scripture, so Matthew 11:28 through 30, and a couple of elements that I think it looks like to live out the scripture is number one, he says, "Come to me." So first, you have to go to him, as you guys have all mentioned, and then it says, "All you who are weary and burdened." But to me, that means you have to be able to acknowledge that you are weary and burdened. And sometimes we could come to him without the acknowledgement of what it's kind of like when you go to the doctor, you have to be able to tell the doctor what your symptoms are. they don't necessarily have the ability to just look at you and say, this is what's going on with you. So we have to one acknowledge, and it is okay. That tells me, if it's in the Bible, it tells me it is okay to be weary and burdened, just as it is okay to come to God and say, I am weary and burdened. And then it says he'll give you
Yeah.
rest. So that's what stood out to me, is I think sometimes we just don't meditate on the words enough to kind of really pull out the very basic application. Because I think if we can get that, then we don't get to the burn. Because if we're consistently checking in on those tires and going to God, then he's getting our new tires in place before we get to the burned out. And I'm sorry, I don't know what it is with me and tires today, because my tires is pricey. I had to replace them too many
Yeah,
times in the recent months.
it's probably this weather.
Okay, tires are not ball though. They're
And
not
it's
ball.
But you
cold.
know, but you know, I like that tire. Making that comparison with tires, because I know for me personally, like you said, tires cost a
Mhm.
lot when you need four at a time. So you go to that dealership or you go to that tire place, you first thing you'll ask is, well, how much longer I got? How many more miles can I get on said ball tires? Okay.
Yep.
How much longer? You rotate this, you put the front and the back, the back and the front. How much longer can I get? So I'm waiting for them to say, well, okay, I'll see you then. And that's what us in life. How much longer can I continue to go that it doesn't take something out of my pocket or something more that I don't have to give at that time that I can get by before I take it that? Well, not without looking at the end pictures, like you said, keep riding on these tires, your tail gonna spin out, make the wrong meal, and it's gonna be too late. But unfortunately, that's what we do. We see how much longer can we go. Whereas if we would have took the proper maintenance from the
Mhm.
get-go with said tires, which I have learned, when you pay $800 to $1,000 for four tires, come in there, get them rotated every 3,000 to 5,000
That part.
miles. That's going to keep it up. What that also is going to do, that extra warranty that I bought, they're going to stand by it so that if said tire does wear out sooner than it should, as long as I've done my part, they'll take care of the rest. So again, goes back to what you said, doing your part,
I
God will
love
take care of the
that.
rest.
Thank you.
I mean, y'all really coming through with the word today.
All right. So that brings us to this week's call to excellence, and that is to release one thing. Take something off your plate that no longer serves you. Excellence isn't about proving, it's about prioritizing. So, what is one thing that we are each going to say no to or adjust in this week?
I'll go first. Because I do work so much. I work multiple jobs, I do multiple things. For me, I think I'm gonna give up at least 2 days of work where I don't do any work, no editing,
Right.
no no photography, no other jobs, like none of that. And take those days to pour into myself. So I don't feel like I'm working or I'm doing a to-do list.
I am saying no to feeling like I have to be and do it all. And I think mostly I feel that way. Well, I would say as a parent, as a mom, I feel that way, but because it really is mainly just me and my daughter here, I find myself a little more lax and a little less stressed in that area because we have a really good routine going. But work, I find myself where I always want to be and do it all. Like, if I don't have the answers, I feel like, oh my gosh, like you're not smart, you're not capable. But just really just giving myself some more grace, you know what I mean? And allowing myself time to just kind of take things a little bit slower. And yeah, I don't have to do it all. It is what it is. Like, and they don't pay me enough to do it all anyway. So there.
That part. That part.
I think for me is when it comes to rest, which plays a very important part of my life right now. Is and you talk about giving up, just this week. It's something I've learned to just give up in general. Um, it's just listening to myself, my body, with signs and saying that, slow down. It's days where I feel like I'm great. I can run on, okay, I'm gonna get all these errands done in one day since I'm already out. But knowing when to cut it off so that that burnout or that feeling of very much fatigue and feeling weak does not onset, doing what I can to not, you know, get to that burnout stage. And that's just the physical form of me being burnt out. So I think now is just saying no, that no, you don't have to go to this store today. You don't have to go just because they got a sale, or you got to go over there because you're out, or because you can get this done today and mark it off as done. Just no, bring it on in, reel it on in, go home, sit in your chair and do nothing, and just because you can. And in the long run, it's just going to make sense. I've learned to cut back on those other things where I don't really have to look outside of self to say that I'm doing too much or that I need to give up. I've given up, sociably drinking, which I'll be honest, I missed. Haven't got to the point where I gave it up for health reasons, but at the same time, I don't miss it to the point that for example, okay, let me write this down. When I go to the doctor, let me ask them, when can I get back on? Can I have a drink? What does that look like? But you know what? I say, I went to the whole appointment. I said, I left and didn't even ask them. And I just knew then that was God or somebody telling me, you didn't need it. It wasn't important. You can wait another 4 weeks when you see him again. That it answered my question in a whole right then. That wasn't something that was a need in my life right now. So for me, just keep listening to myself, saying no to the things for myself without letting other people dictate or me needing to turn them down. Look within myself and say what I can cut back on.
That's so good. How can I follow that? So for me, I am going to take a me day. I don't think I've ever had really a me day. People laugh when they say, well, do you ever go out to dinner by yourself? Do you ever go to the movies by yourself? Do you ever go to, to do this by yourself? And my answer is always no. I've always had someone with me. And I think it's not only for fear that, I mean, it's not only because someone is just always with me, but it's also this, it's just always been that way. And I actually want to spend a day with myself. So I'm going to say no to having other people with me, enjoy a full day off work. And I'm going to go ahead on Friday. So I'm going to hold myself accountable, you guys. On Friday, I'm going to go ahead and take the entire day off work. And it's just going to be a me day. So whatever I want to eat, whatever I want to watch on TV, however many times I want to take a nap in a day, however many times I want to clean out my closet, rearrange my house, and purge things at the same time. But it's going to be a yes to me and a no to whoever else is around because it's all about me that day. And be okay with it. I have never been okay with it, so I got to be
Let
okay
me just
with it.
comment on that real quick
So that's
before
going to
you
be
do
that.
a wrap up, Tashana. So Tashana is one of
Yes,
those
ma'am.
people who she's really big on. She's very really big on being comfortable, um, moving around and navigating life
Hmm. Hmm.
by herself, whether that
Hmm.
means going out to eat, taking trips, like whatever it is. And again, like you, Robin, I never have been. And like, in talking to her, like
Hmm.
it kind of encouraged me to like prioritize doing some things by yourself. Like it's okay. I think at one point in time, I felt like that's so lonely. That's so sad. Like by yourself. But I last
Right.
month, I want to say last month, I had a day off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a page out of Shauna's book, and I'm literally going to be intentional about doing some things by myself. And so I booked a paint and sip because that's something I really like, and I don't always want to drag people along. So I booked that. I went there by myself. I stopped before I got there, and got a roll of sushi, a bottle of prosecco. I went to the paint and sip, and I sat there. It was a class of people, and everybody was teamed up with others, and I was by myself, and it was so peaceful. And I'm like, you know what? I can really get used to
Mhm.
this. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to have anybody with me. Like, when I left, I felt like, what? I need to do more of that because it just felt just that peaceful not to have anybody talking to me during that time, not to feel like I needed to be engaged in things going on around me. I really was just in my own world. And thankfully, it was kind of that like instructional thing where I'm just like paying as the instructor telling me what to do. It didn't even require me talking. And I love that. Like it really was something I can get more used to
I
just
love that
going.
for you, girl. I will paint and
Thank
sip in
you. I
my
like that.
kitchen by myself. Okay. Uh, I,
And got the
I sure do.
paintings to prove
I
it.
don't even go to the place to be amongst others. But you know what? For me, it was a therapy thing. I used to depend on others for my
Mhm.
happiness, for my fulfillment, for all of the things. I was almost forced into the spending time with myself by virtue of traveling for work alone. And it made me sit with myself. And then I started to learn if I can get to a place where I enjoy my company so much, it's going to raise the bar for anybody I have around me. And it absolutely has. So it didn't come easy for your girl either. The Lord kind of pushes me where He wants me to go at any given point in time. And I just, I've come to the place where I just surrender. But but yes. So with that being said, to my sisters, thank you for joining us for episode 2 of Sister Circle and Attitude of Excellence. Please share this episode with a friend who needs permission to breathe, to rest, and to know that her excellence is enough. Subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, take your call to excellence this week seriously. Remember, excellence isn't about perfection, it's about showing up with intention, grace, and love. Until next time, honor both your purpose and your peace.